Okay. Let's do this.
Yep. We are live. Hello, everybody. I'm Christian Coachman. This is Thomas, and we are back with Coffee Break with Coachman, our weekly podcast show with the most brilliant brains in the dental industry. I have this show as something super special for me because it allows me to connect with the people that I love the most in the industry, people that I admire the most, new friends, and also, as I always say, it's an opportunity to share the knowledge of these brilliant people with the whole world of dentistry. This is the main goal of this show. Today, we're gonna interview, or not interview, it's not an interview, it's a chat, it's a casual interaction. This is how we do it with coffee. And Thomas is gonna be very active during the interview today. But I'm gonna be interviewing or chatting with Dr. Miguel Stanley, my dear friend since many, many years, and a very successful dentist, businessman, many stories to share. So I'm sure you guys will enjoy, as Thomas is enjoying. Miguel, I know you have a little baby as well, so you understand what's going on here with me here.
Oh, man,
Welcome, my friend. I'm gonna allow Thomas to go. Say bye. Ciao.
Bye, Thomas.
Hello, ciao.
He will be the seventh generation of Coachman dentists, I'm sure.
Neji.
That's amazing. Such joy, such joy.
Please welcome, my friend.
Hello, everybody, and it's a true honor and a privilege to be here with you, Christian. I'd like to congratulate you on this concept of the best practice show, and everyone at ACT for making this happen. Man, this is just so cool because, you know, it's a kind of behind the scenes. We've all got so many stories to tell, and I'm really looking forward to our chat, my good friend.
It's going to be fun. We have 1 hour to share many, many stories. Of course, we're going to talk about your professional career. I also want you to share some of your personal stories about where you came from, where you started. You're a true international guy. You know, you speak many languages. You have an international career. I always admired your entrepreneurship and your ambition and how you take risks and how you handle life, balancing work and family. Now with the new baby, I want to understand how is that going personally for you, how that's changing your life. But I want to start with you telling me a little bit about your background, where you came from, and why dentistry. What made you pick this profession?
You know, I get emotional when a guy like you says such nice things about me, man, because it's truly mutual. But well, my mother is British. My mother's a redhead from Manchester. She was born on the moors just before the Second World War. My grandfather was a bricklayer, and he fought for 6 years in the Second World War against the Nazis. And when the war finished in the 60s, he went to Australia, to Perth, to build houses there in Australia. And my mother lived there till she was about 16. And then they moved to Durban, South Africa, because the economy there was picking up. And my grandfather moved to South Africa again with my mom and her sister to build houses in South Africa. My father is Alentejano from Grândola in Portugal. And he left Portugal when he was 16 to join the Navy. And he basically did his entire career in the Navy in Portugal, and he was an adventurer. He went around the world twice in the Sagres, which is a huge Navy ship, a training Navy ship. I mean, it's what an experience. So he passed away a few years ago as a huge loss, but he was a larger than life character that was truly taught me what it means to be kind and good and not scared of adventure. And anyway, he met my mom one day on leave because he was fighting in the war in Mozambique. And he met my mom, fell in love, and here I am. So I've got 2 brothers and a sister. We were all born in Durban, South Africa. I lived there till I was 10. That's why some people can hear a faint South African accent. We always spoke English at home. Even with my father, I spoke English. And when I was 10 years old, my father sold everything in South Africa because we were very against apartheid. He couldn't agree anymore with the fact that, the way that the government was treating, the largest part of the population. I'm very proud of him for that. And he sold everything, and we got in a little boat, and we sailed from Durban to Brazil, to Salvador da Bahia, Fernando Noronha, then across the Atlantic to Fayal, Azores, and and that trip took almost a year. And I was 10, and that was a defining moment because I remember everything.
You spent a year in a boat.
On a boat. And we didn't have a refrigerator. We didn't have any antibiotics. I got scurvy from lack of vitamins when we were crossing the Atlantic. The longest we went without seeing another human being was 33 days. We were followed by sharks and by whales, and we had a fire on board. So I guess my sense of adventure and my sense of not really being scared of stuff comes from that, from having this amazing, feisty, red-headed, hot-blooded British woman as a mom and an adventurous South African Portuguese father that taught me to never be scared of anything. And that's pretty much, and then I arrived in Portugal when I was 10, and I've been living here most of my life. I had lived a little bit in LA, bit in London, but mostly Portugal, which is my home, out of choice. I love living in this country. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. It's now one of the hottest tourist destinations. And
where do you feel it's more home now?
Without a doubt, Portugal. This is my home. This is where my friends and my family have chosen to live. And it's
mixed even more. You have British, Portuguese, born in South Africa, travel, beautiful women. It's an amazing mix.
Yeah, and now my wife, being Russian Ukrainian, she hates it when I say she's half Russian, but genetically she's half Russian, half Ukrainian. But she's Ukrainian, and she lived in France for 15 years. She was a very successful model, and probably traveled more than you and I in our prime. And so now we have a little daughter, Luna, and she is 1 year old, and she's a combination of all of this, global energy that we all have. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And that brings back to apartheid. That's the reason why we cannot even imagine things like this, right? Mixing is the best thing in the world. We see this in the World Cup that we are finishing this week. Beautiful event in Russia. The whole world together. That's the way we need to go. And we are both the representation of this mix here in Brazil as well. We mix, right?
And I think that's something that you yourself have done in dentistry. I mean, first of all, as citizens of the world, you're one of the most global citizens I know. Your heritage, you're a 6th generation dentist. Your great grandfather was a dentist in the Civil War in America. Your wife as well comes from a Italian heritage background, and look at your kids. It's incredible. And I think that yourself as well, having worked in Belgium, in the US, with some of the best clinicians in the world, with some of the best teams in the world, the fact you're a dental technician and you're a dentist and you're one of the most tech savvy digital guys on the planet, and you've done something quite unique, is using that to become an aggregator. People have rallied around you, Christian, and despite your fantastic good looks, people are not jealous of your success. They want to contribute to your success, and I think that's incredible. You've really used your skills to get the best out of people, and I think that's so important in our profession, because dentistry is full of jealousy. It's full of fear. It's full of loneliness. It's our friend Kyle Stanley was discussing this the other day. Kyle Stanley, big shout out to you if you're listening in Beverly Hills. Not related. I wish. He's a great guy, but he was talking about the stress in dentistry, and our profession has been very lonely. Yep. And one of the greatest things that's happened in recent time is we're bringing the world together. We're bringing the world of dentistry together. And what you did is just fantastic. And it's great.
Thank you. And we will definitely have this topic back in one of the future interviews. Maybe when I invite Kyle Stanley, very important topic about the loneliness of a dentist, the tough life of a dentist. The highest rate in suicides in a profession is in dentistry. Depression and all these factors that we know are important and not really discussed properly, I believe. We know many people need help on that way. But back to your journey, you were a kid going around the world, and suddenly you woke up and decided you're going to be a dentist. How that happened? Dentistry.
I guess, look, I always felt that, I don't know, I fell into dentistry, but I've always been very connected to people. I have a lot of energy. There's a lot of people that think they know me, but until you've actually been in the same room as me, you don't know me. So let's just put it that way. You might have an opinion about what you see on social media or television, but if you've not been in a room with me or had a cup of coffee with me, you won't know me, because I'm a very energetical person and I share a lot of energy, and I think it's good energy, and I've instinctively want to heal people. I want to make people feel better. I've wanted that since I was a boy, and I wanted to be a healer. Let's put it that way. And when I was 16 and I had to make a decision, it was, I want to be a heart surgeon. I want to be a heart surgeon because that was like the most amazing thing a doctor could be, because Christian Barnard, the South African heart surgeon, was the first guy to do a heart transplant. And that's when I realized that, oh my God, that's going to be amazing to hold somebody's life in their hands. So I wanted to become a doctor. And then, back in the day, it was 6 years of medicine and plus another 3 or 4 years of specialization. And my family couldn't really afford a 12-year adventure in education back then it was very difficult. So I started my degree as in an Egas Muniz university here in Portugal, because the first 2 years were the same as medicine. And I did that pretty much because I didn't get the one grade in physics or something like that, and by 1 point or something. So I thought, you know what, I'll do my first year in dentistry and then I'll move to medicine. I'll adapt. But I'm a human being like everybody else. And in my first year, I made friends. And I realized, well, there's a little thing nobody knows, and I think that's what this show is for. I was a motor boy. You call him motoboy in Brazil. I was a delivery boy for dental clinics. And I had a motorbike that my father had got me to go to school, to university. And my best friend Stein, who's my dental technician for 21 years now, he got a job in a lab mixing, gypsum in a dental lab. And he said, hey, do you want to make some extra cash? They need a guy to do delivery. So basically in my first year of dental school, which I was preparing to go to medical school, I was delivering bags of teeth to dental labs.
You were the motor boy for a dental lab.
Yeah.
I know that.
So for dental lab, yeah. So I had about 15 clients, and I saw some really bad clinics and I saw some awesome clinics.
So you started worse than me. I was a gypsum guy. I was doing the model, but you were delivering the model.
I was delivery guy, man.
You were below me.
I was the worst in the chain of command. But what I got to do is I got to go inside these dental clinics and see the lifestyle of these dentists. And I mean, we're talking 1992. That's a long time ago. Yeah. And I was fascinated by just the culture that these guys were in charge of their own lives. They had nice cars, they had a nice lifestyle. And I'd had my friends at university, and I thought, well, let's try another year. And boom, I became a dentist. And that's pretty much how I fell into dentistry. And, I was a good student. I was good at it. And I didn't know back in 1998 when I graduated the importance of the smile. I was told that I was a dentist. And when I tell people I was a dentist, I'd go, ugh. And I hated that. So I spent the best part of 21 years changing people's perception about what a dentist means, just much like yourself.
So when you graduated, you were just a general dentist, and your idea was to just own your own clinic. What was your initial idea when you graduated? I'm just going to open my own clinic. I'm going to do a specialization. Did you finish dental school and had a specialty that you enjoyed, or?
No, I mean, and for all of the young viewers right now, I know we have a huge following with younger generations of dentists. We're talking pre-internet. There was nothing. There was no such thing as benchmarking. There was no knowledge. There was no information. It was a hidden profession. So I had no clue, besides the 15 clinics that I'd been into. So I was a great student. I got really good grades. I graduated, and I thought, hey, you know what? If I'm a good student, I'll be rewarded. But what I found out was that despite having great grades, I had nobody in dentistry. I knew nobody. So I got no job offers, whereas students that had an average of 10, their parents had clinics and they got a job straight away, a 10 out of 20, sorry, you know. So, and I was like, well, that's just life. And I remember I went to visit all of those 15 dentists. I'd say, man, I will clean your floor. I will clean the toilet. I will wash your car. I will do whatever it takes. Give me a job. And, you know, I guess the economy back then wasn't very good. There wasn't room for that. So for about 6 months, I was terrified. And I answered an advert in a newspaper that needed me to go 300 kilometers south of Lisbon to go work in the Algarve for a South African dentist who had a German endodontist and a British implant surgeon back then. And this is 1998. His name, I'm going to remember in a bit. And I saw these guys work as a team. And again, I was hired to do general dentistry. They said, oh, do you know how to do bridges? Of course I do. I've done one in university, you know. And I'd really like to thank Luis Carvalho for giving me a job. But I was good at dentistry and I managed my own way, but I realized I didn't know enough. And I'll tell a little secret to you, Christian, because you're working in a lab, you'll understand this. I remember on my first week of the job, I got given a 3-element bridge to do, a molar to a premolar. And I remember I prepped the tooth as I'd learned in school, and I took an impression in Improgram, and I sent that to the lab. And I remember my dental nurse, who had 25 years experience, telling me, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. So learning a lot from my dental nurse, and then the dental lab calling me saying, this impression's terrible. And I said, okay, please teach me how to do it. And the dental technician helping me. And I remember the patients being so gracious. But I said, I need to learn more. And I learned a lot about endodontics from this German guy, and German dentistry is, you know, of course, you know, very, very methodic. So I'm really grateful to these guys for teaching me and being kind enough to teach me back in 1998. And
how many years did you stay there?
I stayed there for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I went to Madrid on weekends from 1998 to 1999 to study implant dentistry at CEOSA in Madrid. And it was the Brånemark Center. My teachers were Mariano Sanz, Pepe Rabago, and we also had Bertil Freeberg, who was directly on the team of Brånemark in Gothenburg. So these guys were the pioneers in education. And, you know, Mariano Sanz is a global leader in perio, and Pepe is a leading dentist in Spain and a teacher. And there were about 30 of us on this course. It was a 12-month course. We'd go there for 3 days a month. And I did this at great expense. I remember saving my money, not buying anything so I could afford the course, Christian. And I think that was one of the most defining things that I did in my career. And that led me on the path to implant dentistry, which is one of my passions. And then later, I did the course in cosmetic dentistry at CEOSA as well. So this was before 2000. So in the Algarve, the money that I made from this first job, I paid for education over the weekends. I'd work during the week. I'd study during the weekends. I had no life. And I did that for 2 years. I think a lot of the younger generations of dentists forget how hard it is to study. You know, it's tough. And then basically, I think the defining thing was every time, like once a month, I'd come up to Lisbon and I'd go knock on the door of this clinic in a very nice area of Lisbon. and I tried to get a job at this clinic because I wanted to be closer to my family. And he was like, no. Anyway, after 2 years, he finally conceded and said, do you want to buy the clinic? And then I managed to get a loan from the bank with support from my family. And I opened my first clinic in January 2000.
January 2000. So you started your business career in January 2000. And I know a little bit about your career. And what is interesting, what I really like about the stories you told me, when we met, actually, a big thank you and hug to Mike Appa, who introduced us. Not actually too long ago. It seems like we know each other for 20 years.
Just wait. It was 2013.
Yeah, so like 5 years.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
It's a lot longer. We met on Skype.
We met on Skype, exactly like we are doing here right now.
Mike Appa, who's doing a fantastic job.
Three windows, me, you, and Mike Appa. We were talking about how we could do things together. But anyway, was a very interesting journey. But what I like about your story is that you're not afraid of sharing your failures. As I mentioned, you have ambition, you're driven, you're a doer. You're an entrepreneur. You have this inside you. You have ideas. You're creative. You want to do something different. You're definitely in that group of people that are not comfortable just living the life normally. And you started a very ambitious project. You became big, famous, and then everything went down. You went beyond bad. Tough situation. I know about that. I think that's great to share that when you were down after succeeding, right? Because having a tough beginning, most of the people have that, and it's interesting. Maybe you share the same feeling. I had a very tough professional beginning as well. And when I tell the stories, people don't believe because they think that I was just born, like with success like this. We know it's not true. But when you have a tough beginning, you don't feel it. It's just normal. When we remember the tough beginning, we are like, oh my God, I really went through this,
I know.
And because when you're living that moment, you don't feel it. The tough, much tougher than that is to succeed, experience absolute success, and then drop all the way down. I had similar situation. My father had a very similar situation, but you had that contrast, you know, and you kept your personality, your ethics, and you were able to come back. So I want you to explain a little bit your dreams, your ambition, vanity, how that created the situation to bring you down, and then how you recovered.
It's a great intro to the issue, and I'm really grateful for it. Well, in a nutshell, and I'll explain this in a full loop, dentistry saved my life. It's a really powerful statement. And because of dentistry and the journey that you just described, I became a better person, and I created the be part of a bigger game philosophy. Because I understood at my weakest hour, when all of my competition, because Portugal is a small country, it's not a big country like Brazil. It's a small country. I was a very successful dentist. I was making a lot of money. My clinic was on TV. We were doing TV shows. I mean, I was doing full makeovers, full mouth rehabilitation 12 years ago. I mean, full arch. And we've been doing that consistently, and we had a huge turnover. And I decided to go from my first clinic to a second clinic and do a big jump, huge financial jump, millions of euros. But this was before the subprime. It was, the money was cheap. Everything was good. Let's do it. My advisors, my consultants, my team, let's do it. And, life was great. It was 2009. We were making millions. It was all great. And boom, I found out that my accountant of 9 years had been stealing money, and he'd embezzled a lot of money. And it took us a while to figure out how much.
But was only because the failure became
no, it was compounded.
Because that
it was compounded. It was a perfect storm. We found out he'd embezzled a few million of tax money. He later got a 4-year jail sentence. A lot of people don't know that, but he got a 4-year jail sentence, suspended sentence. We never saw any of the money. Then the subprime hit, the market retracted, and we had some difficulties with opening the new clinic regarding construction, because again, we had people trying to bribe us, wanting us to bribe officials to get the license passed, and because that's the way things go. Because our construction was supposed to take 6 months, it ended up taking up a year and a half. So it was these 3 different things. And again, I was a dentist. I wasn't trained in these things. Let
me go deeper a little bit. And I know you have the strength and the courage to discuss the topic. I always say that our biggest enemy is our ego. And the worst thing is to think that we don't have an ego. And I see many big egos saying, no, I'm humble. And I say, that's the problem. That's going to kill you.
If what you're getting at is if that was an ego issue, I think I bit off more than I could chew back then. If I could go, there's 2 things. As a businessman, if I could go back in time, there's so many things I would change. As a dentist, there's so many things I would go back and change. But had I not had this story happen to me, I wouldn't have learnt how to eat shit, excuse my language, for a while. And
that's definitely nothing. Everything comes because it needs to come. That's definitely it.
And the fallout. I mean, Christian, come 2010, we were managing the issue privately and confidentially. We were solving the things. We were, paying. We were doing everything. But one thing never changed. There's two aspects here. One is Miguel Stanley, the dentist, and the other was Miguel Stanley, the entrepreneur. The dentist never stopped doing gold standard dentistry. And that's when I started this explanation. I said, dentistry saved my life. Yeah. Because you opened this by saying, a lot of people have a tough time at the beginning. I started from nothing, built it, lost everything, and then did it again. And that second time's a lot tougher. And the only reason why I managed that second time was because of the gold standard ethical dentistry that we were practicing.
For the profession. So the passion for the profession saved.
Without a doubt, because and there was very dark moments in 2010, 2012, because when dentists in Portugal, the competition, let's call it, found out this, I mean, they were just like sharks in the water. It was like it became public. And not just that, I mean, what I understood also was that the suppliers who had been a great business partner for over a decade, all of a sudden I became super toxic. No,
I don't know if I ever told you, but the story you're telling is the story of my father in Brazil in the 90s, but exactly the same. So we can talk about that another time. But I know exactly everything. Everybody disappears,
So all of a sudden, and it's like everybody disappears. And I had a TV show that was a primetime TV show as this happened. Dr. White aired. It was on primetime national television, millions of people. And I recall in 2012, people still watch TV. Nowadays, it's a lot different. People have Netflix and all of that. So it was a big deal. And I realized that I could go one of two ways. I could sell myself short and give up, pack it in, and just go get a job somewhere else. I was a famous dentist. I was good at my craft. I could have just said, to hell with it, and just got a job working for somebody else. I could have just left the country, but that wasn't the story I wanted my life to be. Now, I wasn't a father then. I am now. And we started by talking about fatherhood, and I'll tie that in. I wanted to have some form of legacy, not because of ego, but this failure was, some things were my fault, but a lot wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? I'm young. I was 36 years old when that happened. I said, I've got 20 years more career. I can do this again. And I wanted to challenge myself. And I remember my brother, who's a very successful businessman in his own right and been a counselor to me over the years. He sat with me and he said, listen, man, you're at base camp right now. You're at base camp. You've made it here. It's incredible. You're base camp of Mount Everest. You've done it, man. It's like the weather up there is a mess and it's dangerous. And you might fail, you might even die reaching it. but just the fact you're here at base camp is amazing. You can go back down safely and have a great life for yourself, but it's up to you and only you if you're going to make it to Mount Everest, to the top of the peak. And not many people can do that. Some people are crazy. Some people, they have a feeling. And I didn't know if I was going to succeed, Christian. I really didn't. But I have a Roman Catholic education. I got taught that if you're good, if you're kind, you are rewarded. Maybe that's not entirely true, but and not just that, a very important factor here is a shout out to my team. I have dentists on my team that started this journey with me, some of them 17 years ago. My orthodontist has been with me for 17 years. My cosmetic dentist has been with me for 11 going on 12. My endodontist, 11 going on 12. My technician for 21 years. My cleaning lady for 19 years. My tech guy for 20 years. So I had these people around me that, they held my hand. They said, we're with you through thick and thin. And, we just decided to go again. And I knew it wouldn't be easy. And I knew that the only way to succeed was to be kind, to be honest, to be patient, and to recall the difficulties of the first time and realize that it's going to take twice as much and be twice as hard. But if we did pull through, it would be incredible. And I'm not saying we've already pulled through, but I take nothing for granted nowadays, my friend. I take nothing for granted.
So I can summarize that actually the success, you said the dentistry saved your life. Professionally, your business was saved by your passion for dentistry.
Yes.
The right path. Support from the family. I know your brother helped you and sponsored your dream at the beginning, and your team.
Without a doubt.
Family and the team, because you that's definitely true. And then we can talk a little bit about that, because I think one of the key factors for succeeding is being a team builder. You are a team builder. I worked with you in your office. I lived the experience of working under your umbrella, being there as a team member, interacting with your team members. And I know that they really are proud of being part of the team. They own it,
Well, it's true, Christian. And I think there's an old African saying is that alone you go fast, together you go further. And and again, listen, I'm really grateful for this chat because I don't really get a chance. But I'm a true believer in humanity. I have faith that there's goodness in everybody. And if people follow me on social media, they say, I write a lot of human posts, and I believe that nobody wakes up wanting to do damage to somebody else. They fall into it. And when you've got a team that's doing dentistry that is such a mess of a profession, I mean, let's face it, they allow us to do from a simple root scaling and planing all the way up to full arch implant dentistry and bone reconstruction with the same dental license. I mean, in most countries. In some countries, you have to be a specialist, but in most countries. And the array of things that you're allowed to do. And I just think that you can't survive in this profession without a team. And I don't know if you've seen the White Clinic logo, but there's no I in white. And that was planned because there's no I in team. And it's a team effort. And I install a sense of purpose into my team that if you're not good enough to go get somebody a cup of coffee or clean the toilet, or that same energy that I started my profession in 1998, that burning desire to come to work every day and just do better and improve every day, improve your game, improve the people's lives around you, because we are in the service industry. People come to us for help. And if you don't help yourself and the people around you, you can't help other people. And again, we discussed early on about, what happened to me. And that was something that most people don't recover from, Christian. Most people don't recover from that. And we're talking about in Portugal, which is a poor country with a small dental community. It was public, the subprime, the money was drying out. And to do that, without family and without a team would have been impossible. So I'm really grateful to everybody, to the companies, to the people that believed in us. And the only thing we can do now is share that energy and make sure that other people don't give up.
when it comes to team building teams, we can read books. We have many posts on. It's amazing how social media is. There's a lot of philosophy, cheap philosophy on Instagram. Magical sentences giving you the recipe for success. Everybody knows that team is important. That building teams, you have recipes to build teams, etc. But not everybody can do that because
the same way some people say I'll be faithful forever and then are not.
Yeah,
it's a question of emotional loyalty.
So I think that the key is to really care, meaning that you really care about your team and you think about them before you think about yourself.
Yes.
On the tough moments. So let's say all the money in the world disappears and you have $1,000 left in your office there, and I know that at that moment you can sit with your team and share that $1,000 with everybody.
Yes.
Or even give more to them than to yourself, or you can just take the 1,000 and run away because you're never going to see them again.
Well, over the years there have been a lot of offers to do other things. I have a lot of wealthy clients. As you know. I have a lot of celebrity clients, and everybody has a plan about what they should do. But I believe that the White Clinic brand in itself represents something, and I'll share that with you. I wanted to create something that was the benchmark. For me, for my career, the benchmark was always Team Atlanta. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Maurice Salameh, Henry Salameh, David Garber, Dr. Ronald Goldstein, and you know them very well because you worked there for 4 years.
By the way, a parenthesis here, since you mentioned them, on this Friday, so in 2 days, I will be doing the interview. My guest will be Maurice Salameh. So Maurice is going to be with us in this show on Friday. Huh?
My mentor. So let me warm things up for the great Maurice. Maurice taught me synergy. He taught me to always be inclusive, never exclusive. And not just that, interdisciplinary dentistry, the first time I heard the word came out of his mouth. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude to everyone at Team Atlanta, not just what they did before Dental XP, but what they've done on Dental XP. There's a lot of people that are only now figuring out what it is they do. But that kind of dentistry for me was the way it had to happen. Now, I'm not saying that they had an easy road, but USA, the economy is a bit different than in Portugal. And I refuse, on average, 50% of the first timers that come to White Clinic on the premise that I never studied financial-based diagnosis. I never studied at any of the courses I've taken, or in the 20 years I've been a dentist, I've never heard anybody train me. If patient X has $300 a month, this is what you should choose. And that's when I created the No Half Smiles philosophy as the foundation for excellence at White Clinic. And basically, I realized that in the last, I've been lecturing for 15 years now. I have a following. I have messages every single day on social media, I'm sure you have too, of people asking for guidance. And I just realized, look, there's a way to do this the right way. It's not something that's hugely scalable. I believe now with digital technology, and we can get into that, we could talk for hours on that. Finally, with the digital technology, it is scalable. But I believe that, somebody has to show the way of doing it right. And if I'm going to be honest with you, if I'm going to be honest with you, it's in a country like Portugal, it's not hugely profitable. It's a lot of hard work, but I'm still only 45. I will figure out a way to make this profitable. But right now, what I want it to be is cool. I've just come out of a massive, difficulty only 7 years ago. Right now, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for dentistry, and I'm having fun doing this. And my team and my patients are grateful for the kind of work we're doing.
Having fun through the journey is another huge message. And I learned that with my father, even on the darkest periods of bankruptcy, and my name was involved because the second company he built, he used my name and it was a disaster. We were having, it's not that you like to suffer, but you need to enjoy the challenge and deal with it in a positive way. have a smile on your face and say, if it's happening to me, it's because it's part of the journey.
Look at football right now. We're going through the World Cup. Do you think, Brazil did such a great job, Portugal did such a great job, but sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But that's the challenge, and that's what you train for. And if you think that you're going to always be successful in this game, you're wrong. Why? Because life is very much like dentistry. Most cases you plan for success, but you better be prepared for failure every now and again.
How much of business knowledge you had on your first project and how much you have today?
Oh, man.
Where did you find this information, or do you have people helping you on that, or do you run the whole show?
I would say for the first 8 years, nothing. We just were making so much money that we could afford all of the crazy ideas I had. I mean, back in 2007, we were making €500,000 a month. 11 years ago, Christian. I don't know many clinics in the world that can do that today. So I had of course that's going to affect the ego as well, just to get back to think of a 35, 34-year-old kid. I was a kid, I had no knowledge. I then got some managers that helped me, but at the end of the day, I think only yourself, you who've built the practice and that run it and that manage it and that deal with the people, you're the right person to deal with that job. You can't delegate passion. You can't delegate passion. And I'm passionate about this project. I can hire people to do it.
So do you have business people helping you now today, or you are the business CEO?
I am right now. Currently, I have a few advisors. I have my brother, he's a strong and strong ally of mine. He doesn't work for me. He's just every now and again we sit and we consult. I have a few business associates that work for me that help me with certain projects. But in the large scope of things, it's me. And again, how did I learn this, Christian? By coming to work every day and improving one thing every day. I don't care what it is. Hey, let's get better toilet paper. You might think that that's funny, but just getting better toilet paper, that's a business decision. You have to make a decision to choose which one, and you put that in your toilet, and your patients say, hey, the toilet paper's improved. I'm sure now business is better. And those little decisions, and if you go around a practice, I've got 550 square meters here, 30 people on my staff. We've got a bunch of technology. We've got, patients coming in and out every day. There's room for improvement every single second. So I would say that it's learning, training your brain to never, ever, ever give up improving. And I think I've been doing this for 21 years. That's a natural thing that you learn business over time.
So let's talk a little bit about the existing clinic you have and the concepts that you developed right now that you're using that I think are very, very cool. We can see that you have a natural talent or know-how, and again, it's not trained, it's not your ambition, your business feeling, but also marketing. You're good creating brands or slogans, and that for me is one of my passions: marketing and communication, and how to make people enjoy your message, enjoy what you're doing. One thing that I always tell people, and I like, because you did that, and we never talked about that, but you didn't put the name of your name in your clinic. You created a brand, and the brand goes beyond yourself.
Yes.
The beauty of having a brand instead of your name, it's not linked to you when it comes to working with your own hands. You can multiply yourself much easier. I
set myself free.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's exactly it. If you want to do something in the future with your brand, with your company, it's much easier than if it's not
a registered trademark. We've had to shut down a few clinics around Europe, and it's a registered trademark. I registered it in 2004, and I realized.
And we're talking about White Clinic. The name White Clinic, great name, by the way, and a great brand. And it's easier to make people work for a brand, a company, and feel like they own it than working for Miguel Stanley. He's the boss. No, so I'm part of White Clinic. It's much more empowering than I don't care because it's all for Miguel Stanley, you know?
And ironically, life has a funny way of working out for itself, because it was White Clinic, been White Clinic for many, many, many years now. And you'd be surprised at how many people do exactly that, as you say. It's not about the I. Now, there's a lot of guys that feel the need to put their name on the brand. And if that's going to be their only clinic, and
if you put your name, it's not right. It's not that we are right or wrong. I believe it's a tougher journey, because you need to transform your name into a brand.
Appa's doing it.
Exactly. That's the example. You know,
I mean, it's a brand.
But now his name is beyond himself. It's a brand.
He's done a fantastic job. Honestly, a case study. They should study that at Harvard. The guy was a genius. Respect to him. But not many people can pull that off. Yeah. And I believe that White Clinic was part of something bigger, and I wanted people to come and work for something bigger than just me. And a little something that I did in my Dr. White TV show was that, and most people don't know this, I made a conscious decision to put my team in. They got more airtime on the show than I did, so that when the public came to White Clinic, they didn't just want me. They were happy to have the other doctors. And that allowed me...
Complain. Dentists always complain, no, I cannot grow, or I cannot take vacation. I don't make money when I'm away because people want me. And I think that is definitely not an excuse. It's all about the strategy, you know.
By doing that, I afforded myself time on my weekends. And about, I don't know, last year, I did 22 days away from the clinic lecturing. And as you know more than anybody, you know, it's a day to get there, a day to lecture, the day back. So you lose about 4 working days to go and lecture. I'm very passionate about sharing my information and my story. And had it been just Miguel Stanley, I don't think I could be away from the clinic, you know, and people respect the brand, and that's it.
100%. It's a system. It's like going to a top hospital, you know. You go through many professionals. And
there's actually, you can see it on, if you go on YouTube and Google White Clinic, there's a bunch of videos that we do. And there's a video of what a first appointment looks like at White Clinic. It's a 4-minute video. And pretty much there's we call it the Bible. And the Bible pretty much runs you through a first appointment and how we set up a no half smile. So the no half smiles philosophy is the foundation for White Clinic.
How people can find that video?
YouTube
video.
So if you go to YouTube, on YouTube, just punch in White Clinic, and there's a White Clinic channel. It's got the logo, White Clinic, leading dental centers of the world. And on that, it's one of the main videos. Or if you go to our Facebook page, White Clinic, it's one of the first videos on there. It's a 4-minute video, really well produced, and it shows you a day in the life of White Clinic. Now, what we do
already sending a message to the client that they will see several professionals.
This is not just that. We have 6 chairs in the clinic only, and we only do dental. We have 6 chairs. We have almost 30 people working here. You're like, why do you have so many people? Well, when you come, you find out. It's all about I wanted to put a 4 seasons twist on a trip to the dentist. Now, you know as well as me, Christian, that most dentists try and take out as much money as they can from the business, because they realize it's a fast burnout industry. The truth of the matter is that the more you put back in, the bigger you can grow and the better the brand becomes. Dentistry is about generosity. I have never read any book that says if you cut out 5 steps of the process, you will have a good outcome. You know, we know that gold standard dentistry equals longevity, more predictability, and better outcome. You can't cut corners in science. And those things take time. Those things take a team. They take technology. They take patience. And that's why we have such a big team of people to make sure that even if I'm not here or there's a person missing in the chain of command, if a receptionist is missing, we never stop giving just quality consistently.
So let's go to the 2 slogans you developed. First, number 1, no half smile. Second one, slow dentistry. Very well thought slogans, great brands as well. But what do they mean? What is the meaning behind each one of them?
Well, I'm going to start with no half smiles. No half smiles was actually a top guy in advertising, a Portuguese guy. He's a top guy in advertising. And I hired him to help me in 2007 to figure out, to give a title to my lectures. And there's a reason behind this. You see, in 2006, my first TV show aired. And as a result of that, we just had thousands of patients wanting to do with us what we were doing on the TV show. And when I had, let's say, 20 patients come to the clinic, I had limited amount of time. One patient wanted 6 front veneers for, let's say, 6,000 euros, and the other one wanted or needed a full mouth restoration for 40,000 euros. Which one do you think I was going to pick? If I had limited time. Yep. Now, if you're only seeing one patient a week, you do both. But I had 50, 60 of these cases to choose from a month. So we chose the ones that only wanted full arch rehabilitation from a biological, functional, and aesthetic perspective. Because we all know that patients don't want dentistry. They want beautiful smiles. But you can only achieve a long-lasting, beautiful smile with great occlusion, full arch, vertical dimension, everything biologically driven, so on and so forth. Now, for a lot of people, that costs a lot of money. But if you want longevity in the business, and I had to protect the brand White Clinic, I'm not going to do something that is just half dentistry. So we came up with the brand No Half Smiles. And what No Half Smiles literally does is it's gold standard dentistry. If you think about it, every single patient wants 14 upper, 14 lower, vertical dimension driven, perfect occlusion with nice soft tissue. They want to chew without food getting stuck in between their teeth. They want facially integrated, beautiful smiles. The way you design a DSD. Now, regardless of the problem. So what No Half Smile says is, if they come in and say, listen, can you just do the top arch and we'll do the lower arch next year? But you say, listen, but we need to raise the vertical. I can't do that just on the top arch. But come on, doc, listen, you're asking me 40 grand for the full mouth. Let me give you 20 grand. They put 20 grand on the table. How many dentists do you know, Christian, will walk away from 20,000 euros on the table? So I do because that's the way the business is set up. Because I know that if I took that 20 grand and did half a smile, 5 years, 6 years down the line, I'd have chipping of ceramics and so on and so forth. And the only way you can have longevity in this industry is by doing gold standard dentistry. And that's what
Can I translate No Half Smile into creating an ideal, comprehensive solution and sticking to it?
100%. And do not filter it financially. There's only 2 ways you can filter this financially. Actually, only one is you take a hit. You, the dentist.
No, you can do charity. You can do it for free, but the project is the project.
For example, imagine you have a patient that needs 12 ceramics on the top, veneers, crowns, whatever, and is missing 2 back molars. Without those 2 back molars, you can't raise the vertical to support the anterior. And they can't afford the implants. I will offer them the implants many times. Why? No half smiles.
You will not harm the project. Yeah.
Yes. So you think of it as an architect. Architects say form follows function. Okay? So patients want the form. They want the beautiful DSD smile design, beautiful smile. But you can't have that without the function. So what we do is sometimes, most cases we'll say no, but some cases we'll say, look, we'll offer you this or that to get that perfect occlusion. No half smiles.
No half smiles, no shortcuts. Is doing what we learned from people like John Coyce, Frank Spear, facially driven dentistry, Rick Robley,
Dean Fiatis,
Goldstein, full mouth. It's not that you want to do full mouth on everybody. You want to do what they require, what the project demands.
And again, if you think about it, just for Portugal, there's 10 million people living in Portugal. I have one white clinic in Portugal, okay, for the demographic. What I'm trying to say is 1% of the Portuguese population is 10,000 people. I can't treat 10,000 people with no half smile, so I can be patient. I can wait. Of course, for a bigger country like the US, it could be a bunch more. But what I'm trying to say is that this clinic was built for a certain demographic with big problems.
No, what you did is very simple. It's known on the marketing industry as creating your buyer persona, creating the character that you want to serve. It's very, very simple. Everybody should do that. You want to do what you do the best. You want to do what makes you comfortable. You want to treat the people that you can match emotionally. and if you have enough volume to do what you do best, you don't have to do what you don't have to do as much.
But there's a few little things here. One, my dentists come happy to work every day because they know they're doing gold standard dentistry every day, from the perio to the prosto to the ortho. You know, we've been doing Invisalign for 15 years, and most of these cases are interdisciplinary with cosmetic dentistry and endodontics, and you know, so it's fantastic to see that there's a passion for dentistry. And again, I started this by saying dentistry saved our lives. So the thought process of doing gold standard, not cutting any corners, despite being difficult, it's essential, and it's great for business because imagine, you know, if you cannot sell Fiat and Rolls-Royce in the same stand. Fiat is a bigger brand than Rolls-Royce because they sell more cars. But no disrespect to either brand. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're doing partial dentistry and full arch dentistry at the same time, your partial dentistry might create more problems and won't have the emotional aggregate that full arch dentistry does. So we focus on gold standard full arch dentistry, and it generates over time a lot more emotional response from the public that, hey, if you have that problem, you need to go to White Clinic.
That's the message. You specialize your message and you get the type of clients that you do your best. You know, some people love doing single centrals. Some people love doing composites. Some people
it's necessary. It's hugely necessary. Yes.
Some people do bleaching and aligners. You know, there's no right or wrong. It's just you need to define your business strategy, what you know from the scientific clinical standpoint.
And Christian, we're having a chat. You know me, I know you for many years now, but of course this is something that's hugely demographic. You know, there are some countries where this philosophy just wouldn't work because people have great teeth. You know, you go to a country like Denmark that has a dental program, people don't miss teeth. They have great, you understand, or if it's culturally not something that you want. So I think that this philosophy is going to be useful in the years to come, because we know that there was a huge boom in full arch dentistry 10 years ago, and there's a lot of implant failure happening. There's going to be a huge need for gold standard full arch dentistry in the years to come, and that's why I'm sticking to my plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of market for that. Don't worry.
And regarding slow dentistry.
Slow dentistry, yes, the next one.
We only have a few minutes left, but slow dentistry is an idea. It's also a registered trademark. All my brands are registered, and slow dentistry came to me, and again, I just had the creation, and it's now being managed by another team, and you'll be hearing about this very soon. But what slow dentistry was I was having a problem understanding how some clinics were making more profit than I was in my difficult times, and that's why the difficult times are a great time for you to grow, because you have to really rethink everything. And it hit to me. I'll give you a quick example. People call my clinic and say, how much is a cleaning? Let's say, a root scale and planing. And we say, let's just say we say 100 euros. They go, oh, that's very expensive, and then hang up. And then they'll go somewhere else, or they'll come and I'll say, oh, I'll do my cleaning in another clinic because it's only 25 euros. And I'm scratching my head, and then it hit me. But how long do they take? They take 10 minutes. And that's fantastic, because 10 minutes is super fast. You take an hour and charge 100. It has to be worse. And then it dawned on me that the patient's perception of excellence in dentistry didn't have the time factor aggregated to it. Time is a vector of excellence in dentistry. Now, it's a very tricky road if you start describing what technique should be used. But I can assure you that not a dentist in the world would say that you shouldn't take the adequate time to disinfect an operatory in between appointments, to kill and disinfect HIV, hepatitis, so on and so forth, to avoid cross-contamination. That takes time. Studies show that an average from 5 to 10 minutes to disinfect an operatory in between appointments. I know around the world, I've visited 55 countries professionally, that top-notch clinics do that. So if you're seeing 8 patients a day, which is an hour per appointment, you're giving adequate time to disinfect the operatories in between appointments. But if you're seeing 16 to 20 patients a day, that's 200 minutes. That's like 3 hours that the operatory is supposed to be stopped. And those clinics that are doing volume are charging less money. And they're only charging less money because they're seeing more patients. It's impossible to do that and not create a health hazard for your patient. And I'm not discussing what kind of dentistry you're practicing. If you're just doing bleaching or fillings, I don't care. You have to protect your patients and you have to protect your team. The second thing is adequate time for anesthetic. You know, if you're doing speed dentistry and you've got an inflamed tooth, a molar, whatever, you can't do that in 5 minutes. It takes, I mean, I've been doing this for 21 years. It sometimes takes me 20 minutes to get total anesthetic kicked in. You know, a central incisor on a normal tooth takes you 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes before you can start doing your filling. But some teeth take a lot longer. And I fear that a lot of clinics that are working on the clock are doing things fast.
Definitely. So what you're saying is that you are creating awareness
for the patient.
For the patient.
That's the things that patients can understand. And the last one, Christian, there's one that's very simple. Valid consent. Signed valid consent. You have to explain risks and rewards of every single procedure to your patient. And if you're doing things fast, you know, if I'm going to explain to a patient that a bleaching, full arch bleaching, in-office bleaching, that she might have some post-operative sensitivity, that some of the fillings might not, that takes time. And the last but not least is
a great point, because I have to say something. You know, when I first visited your office and 5 years ago, the DSD concept was...
we did that rock star together.
Yes. No. I had this vision of the first appointment with technology and really spending time. Again, time. Investing time on first appointment, investing time on documentation, investing time on facial analysis, investing time on smile design, investing time on comprehensive diagnosis, investing time on interdisciplinary treatment planning, investing time on putting a presentation together for the patient, investing time on preparing your team to present.
Hours.
Investing time on sitting with the patient and explaining the plan. By the way, all this time before you even sell the case, meaning that the patient may say no. And you invested time from A to Z to create that project. And when I first visit your office, you were one of the first guys that were actually doing that, you know, for real, you know, because I was teaching this concept of investing time on this experience, and you had it all set up on that, what I call today the DSD room, with projection, with the PowerPoint, with a presentation to the patient, you know, and you were presenting this because you were investing time. That means that you need to create perceived value. You know, you need to, when the patient says, but this is a lot of money, and you need to somehow be able to send the message, did you realize, patient, how much time I invested just to diagnose your problem and create the solution for your problem? It's a lot of time, you know. Oh, but the other doctor offered me the same solution or for much less money. I said, but how much time did he invest on that solution? You know, it's very easy to say, I'm going to rehabilitate your smile.
How prepared is he, and how much has he prepared you for the potential failure?
Yeah. Because saying, I'm going to rehabilitate your smile is very easy. We know that behind rehabilitating a smile, there's so much, you know, we need to be ready, prepare, treatment plan. There's so many decisions. So for me, it's all about how much time do you invest on making better decisions for your patient? Because if you make the right decision,
it's so important, Christian. And I maybe one day you and I could sit down with some Harvard MBA dudes and figure out, or our good friend Ricardo Mitrani from Spear Institute, because him, I'd love to see a chat with you. I'm going to put that out right now.
Actually, hello to Ricardo. Say he's watching us. He just sent me a message.
But what I'd like to say is, I'm sure that we could actually calculate that you will have more revenue as a clinic the more time you spend with your patients just talking and creating a connection. And now I've been talking about this in my No Half Smiles lecture for a decade now, Christian. And just the last but not least on the slow dentistry. There's no dentist in the world that has not learned that the use of a rubber dam when doing a root canal procedure and over 80% of direct restorations is the most important thing, part of the procedure. But it takes 5 to 8 minutes to set one up. If you're doing appointments in 30 minutes and you're cleaning the operatory correctly, you're giving the anesthetic correctly, you've signed a valid consent form, and you've put up a rubber dam, that takes about 30 minutes. And I haven't even started the treatment. So guys, dentists listening to this, do the right thing. You've learned how to do gold standard dentistry. Don't work for people that make you break the rules, because there are good guys out there. And somebody, look, man, I had success, I failed, and I came back because I do the right thing. And that for me is the most important thing.
So we can conclude that, of course, it's obvious when you spend more time to make a better decision, you will make a better decision. When you spend more time doing something, you're going to probably do something better. So we all know the relationship between time and quality. There's no way you can break this.
And
now,
Christian, that's why
if you are investing the time to deliver better quality or make better decisions, what is the challenge? The challenge is to make your patient value that time.
Yes.
Because otherwise they will take it for granted. They will compare the name of the procedure. Full mouth rehabilitation, full mouth rehabilitation.
The difference between cost and value.
Yeah.
The difference between cost and value. And Christian, I have to commend you before we leave. The digital smile design concept that you have so ardently fought for, and the concept of sending your planning, outsourcing that to Francis Coachman, and I'd like to thank him and his team in Madrid for the outstanding work they do. That outsourcing of the treatment planning for the younger generation of dentists, so for the dentist that has difficulty in doing this interdisciplinary treatment, try it, test it, because what you get back, you've literally outsourced that treatment planning, and you get the ortho procedures, the prosthetic procedures, the endo. You've literally packaged interdisciplinary dentistry with that one simple step of outsourcing it. And I commend you because you personally are changing the way dentistry is thought and perceived. You're helping millions of people around the world get better dentistry. And for that, my friend, I thank you. And the world needs to thank you and your team for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Miguel. You are a great supporter. Having you on our KOL team, having you test driving all our ideas. The goal is actually facilitate better dentistry. As you said, we need to be efficient, but we need to understand, of course, that we are in the healthcare business, and above any kind of business perspective, we have the patient, we have ethics, we need to deliver great dentistry, but we deserve the value, we deserve the credits. If we are really following the rules, if we are delivering quality, we deserve the value, the patients. So what we see is that we need to understand how to make patients become a big fan of ours when we are doing a great job.
And that's by making them become a fan of your team. And for that to happen, your team have to love to come to work every day. And for that, you have to create a safe, healthy work environment. And that is what we work for every single day, making sure that it's fun. Dentistry can be fun if you don't break the rules. That's what I'm all about.
Amazing. Great message. No half smiles, slow dentistry, meaning no shortcuts, and getting your value for the time you spent on every decision.
Being part of a bigger game.
And that's the third one, being part of the bigger game. Hashtag, I love that.
And Christian, I'd just like to leave a message to all the dentists around the world following us right now. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You're not alone, but remember to be kind to each other. Social media is a platform for sharing knowledge. Don't be jealous. Not everybody's life is as beautiful as it seems online. Learn through the art of dentistry that you can improve your dentistry the same way you can improve your own soul. Be kind to each other, be nice to each other, and just be good human beings, because our patients come to us to ask for help for their most precious asset, their smile. So be good to it. Be good to it.
That's definitely a good message, because dentistry is huge on social media, and then that brings a lot of great things, but we see a lot of aggressive behavior, and let's just keep the good positive energy online.
You're a leader in that, and I just thank you for your good energy and just keeping me part of your universe, Christian. Never stop. I'm here to support you, my friend. And thank you for this invitation.
It's my pleasure. It was a great conversation. I really honestly enjoyed. I always learn from you. It's great to be on the same team as you are, to be on the same side.
We have good friends around the world, and they help us every day.
My friends are everything for me, and you're definitely part of this special group of real friends. I know you're super busy, so I want to thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
But I know your clinic is running smoothly during this 1 hour while you were here.
That's true.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job taking care of your patients, but I'm sure there's somebody waiting for you right now. So thank you, my friend. See you in person soon.
God bless you and your family. Thank you.
Big hug on your baby, on your wife. I hope to be all together, family all together soon. Very soon.
Churrasco brasileiro em breve.
Churrasco brasileiro, com certeza.
Ciao.
Ciao, everybody. See you Friday. Friday with, as I mentioned, we have this week a very busy week. So in 2 days, Friday, we have another edition of this Coffee Break with Coachman podcast show. Another super special guest, Dr. Maurice Salameh, part of Team Atlanta. No introduction needed. Everybody knows him. He's going to be sharing his experiences. We're going to be talking about all the groundbreaking publications that Team Atlanta did. We're going to talk about new projects that we are developing together, that Dental XP is developing, that Team Atlanta is developing. We're going to talk about his career, how Team Atlanta started, the vision, the beginning, the birth of interdisciplinary dentistry, all these amazing topics, the combination between perio and ortho, the articles that they published on these topics. So it's going to be an amazing conversation on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, New York time. I'm going to be talking with Maurice Salameh. So thank you very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed. See you Friday. Ciao.